Bonjour.
Good afternoon. Welcome to meeting 109 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Public Accounts.
In a hybrid format pursuant to the standing orders, members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application, including today's witness. A reminder that all comments should be addressed to the chair. Conformément à l'article 108.3G du règlement.
Pursuant to Standing Order 1083G, the committee is resuming its study of Report 1, ArriveCAN, referred to committee on Monday, February the 12th, 2024.
Welcome our witness, David Yeo, business owner, who's joining us, as I said, by video conference. Mr. Yeo, I appreciate you making yourself available to us today. And as discussed with the clerk, you have an opening statement of up to 5 minutes, please. So without further ado, I'll turn things over to you if you'd like to speak to us for up to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I hope everybody can hear me fine.
Yes, we can.
I would like to start off by saying thank you, Mr. Chair, and honorable members of the committee. This land that we gather on today is a traditional, ancestral, and ceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation and is now home to many other First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. I'm a descendant of Treaty Signing Chief Robert Franklin, who is my great-grandfather, and has past Chief of Alderville First Nation. He was also a World War I veteran. I hold Alderville First Nations community near and dear to my heart, as this what forms my Indigenous ancestry. I have family that live there, and my father is also buried there next to my great-grandfather. I, too, am an Indigenous veteran who served with the Canadian Army for 14 years, from 1987 to 2001. Following this, I joined the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves for another 10 years, from 2001 to 2011. From September 1991 to February of 1992, I was deployed to Cyprus as a part of a UN mission with the 2nd Battalion Royal Canadian Regiment. I was a C9 machine gunner and driver along the front lines for 6 months. From August till November 2010, I was deployed in Afghanistan as a contractor for the Department of National Defense to deliver a high-assurance security capability to Kandahar. We also went outside the wire to all of the forward operating bases as well. I received a commander's commendation for my contribution to Task Force Kandahar. I'm a tactical security specialist with expertise and certifications in high-assurance guarding technologies for the Canadian Armed Forces, both on mobile platforms and security areas within the CAF, or specialty areas within the CAF. In 2002, I founded Dalian Enterprises, a hardware, software, cybersecurity company, and the Government of Canada is Dalian's primary customer. In 2002 until September of 2023, I was not an employee of the Canadian government in any capacity, but a contractor providing IT professional services through Dalian to the Department of National Defense. Since 2002, Dalian has been regularly audited by Indigenous Services Canada to confirm compliance with all requirements with the procurement strategy for Indigenous business, and the company has passed every one of them, including one just recently in February 2024. The PSIB is designed to help Indigenous entrepreneurs like me start and grow a business by providing them access to procurement opportunities within the Government of Canada, either directly or through partnership. The PSIB has been successful in helping many Indigenous-owned companies, including Dalian, to launch, grow, and prosper. In late September 2023, long after the completion of all work on ArriveCAN by Dalian, my professional relationship changed with the Department of National Defense. It changed from that of a consultant providing IT professional security services to a public service employee with the PIPSI union. That happened on the 19th of September, 2023. So I'll say that again, 19th of September, 2023. Due to this change, I took steps to address any conflict of interest concerns by entering into a confidentiality, non-disclosure, no-access agreement with Dalian, in which I agreed to refrain from participating in any Dalian proposals, projects, contracts, ventures, or any other activity relating directly or indirectly to the National Defense Department. Since becoming a public service employee of National Defense, I've honored that agreement, have not been involved in any management of our operations at Dalian, and have not had access to Dalian confidential information of any kind. I also made appropriate conflict of interest filings with the National Defense Department, resigned as director and officer of Dalian, and put my Dalian shares into a blind trust. Unfortunately, no one from the media ever contacted Dalian Dalian or I before publishing reports late in February. They suggested that I was a public service employee for decades. This resulted in an unfounded allegation at D&D and unfounded allegation at D&D that I was in conflict of interest. I understand that D&D has now made a statement that there was no conflict of interest, but I have already made the choice and resigned from the public service after just 168 days, mostly due to all of this very difficult situation. So even more disappointingly, no one from the federal government has ever contacted Dalian or myself before undertaking the unprofound action of terminating all contracts with Dalian, hardware and software, and professional services, suspending security clearances, suspending Dalian and Craddox from continuing current work and competing for future opportunities with the Government of Canada, their primary customer for 22 years and 29 years, respectively. This all happened within 48 hours without due diligence or, in our concept, due process. There's not been a single review, investigation, or audit, report, or study that has indicated Dalian or Craddox did anything wrong or illegal during ArriveCAN or the ArriveCAN project or any other government project that we've been involved with. Despite this, and as a result of these unfounded terminations and suspensions, hundreds of employees and consultants are already out of work, or soon will be, from both companies. Neither company has done nothing wrong or different for the past 2 and 3 decades of working with the federal government. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. That went a little over time. People might recognize, but I did want to give you an opportunity to just get your words on the record. Turning now to our first round, we have Mr. Barrett. You have the floor for 6 minutes, please.
On what date did you start your employment with the Government of Canada?
Mr. Chair, the Government of Canada start date was the 19th of September, 2023.
Okay, I'll circle back to that. On what date were you first employed in any capacity with the Government of Canada, including in the Canadian Armed Forces?
That would be start date of December 17th, 1987.
Have you been employed by any other departments other than as a regular reserve member of the Canadian Armed Forces and the Department of National Defence?
So the short answer is no, but I'm assuming that you're talking about my consulting work.
We'll get to that. Okay. You mentioned the date of September 19th, 2023. That was the date that you said what happened?
That was the date that I started as a public service employee.
And did anything else happen on that date that's noteworthy for the work of this committee?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
So we have in the documents that the committee has received, it says that that the department signed a contract with you on that very same date. So I find that interesting that on September 19th of 2023, you were both awarded a contract and awarded a job in the public service. Does Dalian have contracts that are current with the Government of Canada?
Not currently, no, because they were all terminated.
So the number is 0.
Number is 0.
Are you able to, is Dalian able to fully do business with the Government of Canada or bid on work?
No, we are not. We have been suspended from all security clearances, obviously pending this discussion and other discussions ongoing, and all of our contracts have been terminated. So by virtue of that, there is no ability to execute. Yeah.
How many subcontractors do you have?
That is a really good question. From a professional services standpoint, I would actually have to get back to you on that. From a hardware and software perspective, we have 4 or 5 that we use. Yep.
Sir, if you're going to get back to us with the number, can you also provide the committee with the names of those subcontractors?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
If you'd note that for us, please, Chair.
Noted.
Was GC Strategies ever a subcontractor of Dalian?
Again, I spend, a large portion of my time, or I spent a large portion of my time with the Defense Department, whether it was my 168 days as a public servant or whether it was, my consulting time at the department. So, to answer your question, the obvious answer is yes, but the aspect of them, working with us, I'd have to get more detail for you. Yep.
So you can provide us with the when and on which contracts?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we know, of course, that they were, and I appreciate you indicating even a tertiary awareness of it. But they were caught not following security requirements for government contracts. For all of your contracts with the government, knowing that GC Strategies did not meet security requirements, are you able to guarantee the security of all of the contracted work done that you have done with the Government of Canada?
Again, the short answer would be yes, because we are, ISO certified in our processes. But a large part of this happens to be with as a prime contractor with the federal government, whether it's, an Aboriginal set-aside contract or not, because we've had both in the past. But I would say that, in retrospect to that, if they have some kind of misgivings on their security clearances, that would be tracked through, and we should have awareness of that at our own security shop. So I've never been told of any, issues with the security clearance side of things with GC. And again, I've just been, read into this file over the last number of months, and it hasn't come up as an issue.
So are you aware of the reports that I'm referring to, that GC Strategies did not follow the security requirements for contracts with the Government of Canada? Is that something that you've been aware of prior to my speaking of it with you just now?
No, it isn't. You'd have to give me more details on the actual security requirements that were actually, not followed, because I'm not aware of any that they didn't.
Have you or your partner at Dalian ever provided any hospitality to any Government of Canada employees?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Have you or your partner at Dalian ever met with government employees outside of government offices?
I know I have not, and I can say that this is not something that is even remotely looked at from, an internal perspective, but as far as I'm aware, no.
Did you ever meet with Christian Firth of GC Strategies?
I have not met Christian once. No.
Have you ever spoken to him?
No.
Have you ever spoken to his partner?
No.
Has your partner ever spoken to Mr. Firth or his partner?
I would assume yes to that question.
Okay.
Because obviously there was a subcontract that was put together for CBSA for this effort. So I would imagine that there would have been dialogue that would have had to have happened, yeah.
Is Dalian registered anywhere outside of Canada?
No.
Okay, my last question is, you stated previously that you are constantly audited to ensure that you're eligible for the Indigenous set-aside when winning bids as a joint venture with Caradix. Who is conducting these audits, and when was the last audit done?
Sure. So the audits are done by ISC, which is Indigenous Services Canada, and the last one that was done in February 2024, just a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barrett. Next up, we have Mr. Chen. You have the floor for 6 minutes, please.
Chair. Mr. Yeo, my first question to you is, how many years has Dalian been working on federal contracts?
So, Mr. Chair, I appreciate the question. I started the company in 2001, 2002, and we won our first contract within the first year, so shortly after that.
And could you describe the nature of your contributions to the ArriveCAN application?
So again, I'm very much 2 gates deep at D&D in what I do, or what I did at the department before I had to resign after 168 days. But the upshot is that when it comes to ArriveCAN, and I've been read into the file now and have been for a while, the aspect of revenue, from what I understand, is $4.9 million, and that's basically $1.6 million per year for the 3 years that the contracts were open, which is what I understand that went through a staff augmentation contract at CBSA. So it wasn't